again, excellent work, team. I'm very excited for you. Yesterday, post conversations that I had with a number of you, it was just, and even Ellen walking out yesterday, just felt like you had a plan, you had a focus, something to concentrate on and to do, and that's really the part of the beauty of this. And it'll keep morphing, and you'll keep getting better at this as it goes along. It'll just become ingrained in you. Again, I've obviously had the privilege of living this for 15 years. So, and again, I'll give Dan an opportunity here to get this set up, but I started with EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System, Gino Wickman, that type of thing. So I started with that and implemented that at over 500 different organizations, and then just found gaps in there. There are gaps in it, and it's a great program. It's a terrific system, and it's super good. And you're going to obviously, if you're familiar with it, you see some similarities with ours, of course. But like with our Poise book and things like that, we just go deeper into the people portion. We go deeper into the financial portion. We go deeper into some of those pieces in the book, etc. And as time goes along, and that's why we did that. So again, I transitioned from doing the EOS into the Poise about 5 years ago, give or take, and I've been doing that with groups in that capacity. So just, I don't like dead air, so Dan's working. I just feel like air. I would tell jokes if I was funny, but I'm not really.
Can you dance?
Oh, definitely not. No, music, I'm that 1%. There's a study out there that 1% of the population does not resonate with music. I'm that 1%. I was 2 years old, and my mom came in to sing to me, to put me to sleep. And I looked up at her and I said, no sing, Mom, no sing. And that's me. I'm talk radio, so.
So, like, even you don't even enjoy listening to music at all?
Not really. But maybe music soundtracks, movie soundtracks, like the Star Wars theme and things, if you put that on. Because then I imagine the whole movie, so it's more of that. And I guess I like rap, hip hop, because they're talking to you more. Because if it's talk like that, then I'm good with it. So, yeah, no, it's just, I'm
1%.
Yeah, 1%.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
What other fun facts do you know like that?
Right. Busta Rhymes is good, you know, Ice Cube, but it's more old school.
Baby Get Back.
LL Cool J, etc.
Like
All right. All right, here we go. So we're going to start you into some of the resources. We'll finish. We'll get to the fuel meeting agenda third, but just want to start with what we believe are great resources, and there's a number of resources. They're in the appendices of the book, so you can always reference back there. So again, the AEF is page 135, I believe. As much as I have pages memorized in the book that I wrote, but alignment, engagement, fit. Just as a matter of fact, I worked someone through this morning who is struggling in a position with the change in their company. Their company is going to acquire. They're going to quadruple, actually 5 times the size. They're going from 20 employees to basically 100 employees possibly in the next 6 months with an acquisition they're doing. And the one employee is struggling because she doesn't see her role in the new entity, so to say. And so we went back to alignment, and engagement, and fit. So alignment is, are you in alignment with the mission, the vision, the values of where you serve? Have to be, absolutely vital. So all of you as board members, so again, where I'd encourage the board to incorporate this is as you're vetting potential new board members and as you're doing reviews on board members, to go back to this and say, John, are you still in alignment? Do you still, again, fully recognize, believe, and carry out the organization's mission, etc.? Understand, these 4 simple points. I love objective resources. To be able to say, it's not that I see something wrong with John, but I want to know, where is John on this? And again, as you vet new members, if they're not in alignment, they're the wrong person. A lot of times boards just look for someone who has a pulse and who says yes. Don't do that. I'd rather have empty seats than the wrong person. So again, alignment helps you with that. And again, Margaret, on the school side, this is something I encourage you with every new employee. I would encourage you to do it with performance reviews. Organizations that we're working with incorporate this in performance reviews with their people every year. To say, are you still tracking on this? Are we still, and again, it's that discussion. So, and then the engagement. And again, alignment is a non-negotiable. If you're not in alignment, you're in the wrong place. Then engagement. Engagement is being fully present and involved in the organizational activities. So you can have alignment, but if you don't have engagement, it's still not going to work. Okay, so you may have teachers and faculty that are, aligned, but then when it comes to, can you help with this? No. Can you do this? No. Can you help? No. Yeah, we got an issue. We got an issue with engagement. Not that ever happens to you, Margaret, I'm sure, but again, are they an active contributor, accountable to self and others? Are they living those values inside and outside? So if you're working, especially Hillsdale, which is incredibly, student value driven, are your people living these values? I mean, it's a big deal. So again, having that as a resource to vet as well as to utilize as a performance review. Now, the only negotiable on this sheet is the fit. So again, the fit is, you have certain strengths, you have certain skills, you have certain, talents. How can we work that? So if I've got someone who's aligned and engaged, I'm going to try to work on the fit. Well, maybe we put you here, we utilize you here, because alignment engagement, that's exciting. If you've got that, we can always work on the fit based upon strengths, or get them extra trainings, or whatever it might be. That's the one negotiable. Does that resource make sense? It's not any deeper than that. It's just a great piece to up front as well as for performance reviews. Questions on AEF, alignment engagement fit? Okay. So then if we go to the DBS, which is, again, it's going to be a big part of your fuel meeting agenda, which, again, we're going to go into next. Dan's done some work to set it up for you already, initial draft for, again, the next meeting. We've got to put the date on the calendar on that, or at least we have to get it on our calendar. But the DBS is driving business solutions. And again, even though you're a nonprofit, the school's not, you're a full-fledged 501c3, right? Yes. Margaret? Okay. All right, good. Why I ask that is Hillsdale is not your
No, we're independent.
Okay, very good. Perfect. Because you can have those things where people stand in. All right. So the first one is, in the DBS, is you've got to clarify. Clarify what is the real issue. And that's where you want to, again, strengths are helpful. You want to tap into problem identification strengths. So the strategic, the intellection, the ideation. They're really good at getting to the real issue. Because a lot of times, organizations work on symptoms rather than the real issue. So you got to dig here. You got to talk this through. What's the real issue? And again, someone said, well, we have a finance problem. Again, we talked about this yesterday. Well, it's probably not a finance problem. It could be a lack of a vision. It could be a lack of alignment. It's not finances. That's never the ultimate issue. It's what's disconnecting us from achieving the finances that we need. That gets us to the real issue. Then once you identify the issue, then you want everyone's comments. Not that you don't get everyone's comments here, but the people with problem identification are really good at that. So then the second thing is, once you identify the issue, get everybody talking. All right, here's the issue. What do you think? What do you think? What can we do? What have you seen? Where have you been? What have you experienced? Get that input. And then the third thing is the way forward. So if you just ingrain this pattern, okay, just clarify, discuss, way forward. And then, again, leaders facilitate the team action plan with ownership. This is where you want to get into problem solvers. They're the ones that say, all right, we've talked about it. Here's the 3-step solution. So my people, restorative, input, arranger, etc. They're the ones that are really good at seeing that 3-step solution. You want the traction people, then to get that solution moving. The drivers to make sure it gets finished. But the simple pattern with this is we always want to end up with this. Who does what, by when? Everything that we teach is always focused on action. Always focused on action. There is nothing more frustrating than meeting for the sake of meeting. Nothing more frustrating. So again, everything is action oriented. So as you utilize this with the field meeting agenda, which we're going to get into, it gets you to that action step of who does what by when. It builds in that accountability. And we teach accountability as the highest form of, does anyone remember? We didn't really stress it too much, but highest form of? Praise, yeah, good. That is accountability. Highest form of praise. Georgia, you're important. What you're doing is important. If we don't hold her accountable, we're saying the opposite. Well, it doesn't matter, I'll just do it. And we don't always do it. It's not necessarily intentional, but that's how it does come across. And eventually Georgia's going to quit. She's like, they don't really need me. And we've seen that. We don't want you to quit. So there you go. All right. Does that make sense, team, again, with the TBS? Questions there? Okay. Now here we go. The fuel, let's go to the fuel meeting agenda. We'll come back to the matrix after if we can. Are you ready to go with the meeting agenda, Dan? Yeah. Okay.
Poor Dan, he's like a robot over here.
He's great with that, yeah. He's got the hardest job, there's no question. All right. So the fuel meeting agenda, here it is. It is designed for 90 minutes maximum. You cannot go beyond 90 minutes. As a matter of fact, when you get to 90 minutes, it's done. It's done. If you go beyond that, you can't. I should just say, I'm saying that very strongly, but you should definitely not go beyond 90 minutes. 90 minutes, okay? First thing you do is just have participants. So again, you will probably need them assigned. So they don't give you an agenda that you have to follow. Is that correct from the state for the school board meetings or anything?
We have one in our bylaws, but it's not state dictated.
Okay, all right, because in Minnesota, we had to make a couple of little tweaks for the charter school, but we still run this agenda. And that's why Craig Kepler, who is a longtime charter school guy, lawyer, probably the most renowned charter school expert, certainly in Minnesota, possibly in the country, and just phenomenal guy, but he's like, that's why I was telling, again, Randy this yesterday. He said he was going to stay with us through the founding year, so he helped found the school and stay one more year. Well, 6 years later, he's still with us. Because he's like, you guys run meetings. He said, I don't mind coming to your meetings. They're done in 45, 55 minutes. You know, that's the rhythm we've gotten into. So again, you just list the participants and you can put in there, you know, who's present, absent, etc. Then with the board members, we build in, so that next section, I think you can go up Dan to the narrative. Okay, so you've got that. So with the strengths piece, again, you've got we build the strengths piece right in there. So you can see the strengths of people, you know how they best operate, and go from there. Then alignment. This is what you read through in every meeting. So this is where, now again, depending upon what you have, you start with reading the mission, so absolutely. So I agree with that. Read your mission, read your vision, read your values. If you have a driving force, and again, this is for you, to manipulate. So again, our encouragement to you all would be, you've got a good mission statement. There's nothing wrong with your mission statement. Again, I might encourage you to look at it and to say, why are we doing this? To add the why, you've got a good what, but maybe the why, but that's up to you. Vision's going to be worked on. Okay, where are we going to be? And we would encourage you to put some values in. You've got values for the students, but what are our values as an institution? Are they the same? Great, whatever. But put those values in. Because the MV squared, mission, vision, values, are foundational. You can't go outside of that. It acts as a filter. And you read through that at the beginning of every meeting. People will say to me, Scott, doesn't that get old? Doesn't that get rote? I say, I don't care. Those are your fundamental statements. Read through them. Roughly the average out there, and maybe John, others of you that work with CEOs, what I've seen is roughly 9 out of 10 CEOs don't even know their own mission, vision, values. Or they don't even say we have one. They just do it because they were gifted to do it. That's not always healthy. As a matter of fact, I would say that's never healthy. So, make sense on that? We good there, team? Mm-hmm. So again, notice there's no reporting here, nothing like that. So then if we go down, so right in here is again what you're going to do. So leadership expectation and norms. These are the norms for your meeting. So you establish these, and they're written in. You don't read through them, but the norms are. And again, these are just sample norms. Each team is fully prepared. Email reports minimum. It might be 2 days ahead, 3 days ahead, whatever you put in there, whatever is reasonable for your group. So, and if it's email or put it on SharePoint, whatever works for your group. But you've got to have meeting norms. Leadership, ownership mindset, turn off devices, start promptly. Do you have people coming in electronically, or do you have to be here face to face? Can you bring people in via Zoom or no?
We have to have at least 3 of us here in person.
Okay, so again, if you have people coming in via Zoom or Teams, that their video is shown, that they mute themselves when not talking, so you don't hear the dogs in the background. Love dogs, but you don't want to hear them in the background, whatever it would be. So again, whatever your norms are, you build them in here. You don't read through them every time, but you just say, remember our norms. Does that make sense, team? Mm-hmm. Then you have the strengths first for others. So real quick around the table, you just go around, and I'll say, Lori, how did you use your strengths, or how did you see someone else in the room use their strengths? And Lori's going to say, I saw Emily use her strengths as achiever. She got all these things done, checked them off the list because that's what achievers do, and that's great. Okay, and then Skylar, what did you see? Skylar's gonna say, I saw Georgia use her woo, and Georgia's gonna say, oh, I saw Skylar use his woo. So it's a real quick 5. Woo!
Did you see John use his woo? though?
Yes.
W.
How did he use his last name?
Yeah.
Correct, there we go. So, it's spelled differently. All right, here we go. But again, you just go around the room and you can also at this point in time, just, if you want to, share something personal. So again, you go around the room and Lori could say, I saw Emily do this, and by the way, you know, my daughter just won the state championship for tennis. All right, that's great, terrific, whatever it would be. So that's just the personal type of connection there. Real quick, 5 minutes around the room. Make sense? And again, we'll be there to help lead you through this first time. Then your identify priority metrics. So this is, we'll probably add this to the issues list already, but we'll talk more about what that means. But these are your key metrics. So Lori, this is where you don't come in and read every line item in the financial report, but this is where the board says, the key finances we want to see is we want to see these two things on a monthly basis. Then they're built into a dashboard, so to say here. Here's our dashboard of finances. The board might also say we want to see enrollment numbers. So, okay, so on a monthly basis, Margaret's got enrollment numbers of K to 8, 9 to 12, or whatever breakdown. Test scores may not be monthly, but could be quarterly or annually, or last year to this year. But point being here, all this is right here is over time you want to develop what is your dashboard? What are the key numbers? As you're going along, John's going to probably have a line in here, capital campaign. Where are we at? This month by this month by this month, or this quarter by this quarter. They can be monthly numbers, they can be quarterly numbers, they can be annual numbers. Whatever it might be. Whatever it might be. Is that clear? Does that make sense?
So these metrics aren't necessarily tied to our strategic goals,
They could be.
but they're not necessarily.
That is correct. There are things that you need as a board to fully operate the school. I would dare say that you're going to probably, anything you have in here, I would think, other than maybe test scores because you just want to know them or something, but the test scores really do directly link to potentially how you're achieving and becoming the greatest regional Hillsdale school. So I think there are linkages there. I think you'd be hard pressed to not find a link, but they're not, per your question, they're not a one-on-one link to the goals. Did that make sense?
Yep,
What I'm saying?
absolutely.
Okay. Does that make sense, that area? And it takes time. By the way, whatever you put in there, the first time will be different in a year. Because you're going to look at it and say, why aren't we asking for this? We don't ever do anything with it. So why do we need that here? You're like, yeah, we don't, but we could use this. And so it's a constant process of morphing before you really nail it down. And again, it saves that time, Lori, of you coming in and reading through line item by line item by line item of the budget, so to say. We good there, team? All right. Any questions on that? So then we go down to the 90-day goal review. So again, it's color coded, so Dan's got built in, red is the marketing enrollment. You can change these titles as you go along, what fits better, etc. You've got the finance of green, black are operations, and blue is capital campaign. So then as Randy's leading the meeting, and Ellen's taking the notes. So Randy's going to say, all right, first one, and he's not going to read through it, he's going to say MH, on target or off target. And you're going to say?
On target.
All right, so then Ellen's going to put a, by the way, this becomes your meeting minutes. This is going to make Ellen's life so easy. These are your minutes. These are your minutes. Now, there may be some closed session things that have to be dealt with differently. I understand that. Then you're going to have written in here, C, closed session, XYZ. That's fine. Whatever you've got to do to manipulate. But in essence, these are your minutes. So all you do going into the next meeting is you change the date on this. It's going to be the same agenda. Anything that's completely done, you wipe out, but it's your running minutes. It's your running agenda. Every meeting, run this way. Still making sense, team?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question on this, Scott? So let's say Margaret's drafting the vision and she, I'm on track, but I want your input or your thoughts.
Yeah.
Is that done here or is that
Beautiful.
coming next?
So what happens with that? So if Margaret says, I'm on target, but I want to share some things, then Ellen's going to scroll down to the DBS. Right there, the DBS, okay? And she's going to put in here, Margaret to discuss vision statement progress. No discussion on top, but it's going to go on the DBS. And I'll explain more how that works in just a minute. Okay? So if we go back up top, so 90-day goals. Next one, SF, the Clifton and Allen. So Skylar would say, on target. And then the next one, LK, I was gonna try to.
Lori.
All right, so Lori might say, so Lori says off target. Well, immediately, Ellen would copy this and paste it in the DBS, because anything that's off target needs to be discussed. Okay? So it's off target, goes to the DBS, no discussion up here. Because guess what happens? If you start discussing it up here, you know what happens?
Throws everything.
Margaret talks for 45 minutes on the vision, and George's eyes have glossed over like, what? I don't need to know all this. What is going on? And now we're 3 hours into the meeting and we haven't really gotten anything important. So it just keeps us from running down rabbit holes. Because what happens is, as soon as someone starts talking, then we get, time monopolized on something that may not be the highest priority. And I'll get a little bit more to that in a minute. Still tracking, making sense, team? All right. So you go through that, you go through each one, on target, off target. If it's on target, no discussion, unless somebody says specifically, I need to share this. It's just on target, off target, no discussion. Don't want to hear, again, that Emily visited Mabel and she's got plastic on her couch and she has a really nice, schnauz or whatever. That's great, but I want to hear it in the meeting. No offense, Emily, just don't want to hear it. All right, we good there? All right, so then we go to, the next section is just kind of a catch-all here. The vital people updates. This is a catch-all to say, where John might say something like, I'm researching, we're changing vendors for something with the capital campaign. Everybody should be aware of this. It's just a quick note. Or the school, I don't know how many people are into it. Do you use Cisco? Do you have any food vendors here? What's up?
No.
Okay. Well, whatever. Yeah, it just would be something that's a big change that if people are used to seeing something that realize we changed vendors, you're not going to see that anymore, that type of thing. Or it can be a catch-all to say, please keep in your prayers and thoughts our third grade teacher who is in a,
Don't even
forbid. Yeah.
Won the lottery.
Yes.
Probably not coming back.
It can be positive things too.
She comes back.
It could be positive things too, such as, be aware that our third grade teacher just won, teacher of the year. Great. So this is just a catch-all. Does anyone have anything to share that we should know collectively about any individual? It doesn't take up time in the meeting, but just be aware of this. That's spot. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Then the to-do list. In the first meeting, there's going to be nothing here. The to-do list is populated from the discussion of the DBS. And the to-dos are outside of the 90-day goals usually. They are to-dos that would have to get done by the next month. They could be standalone things, they could be XYZ, they could be something maybe that's helping someone on it, but they're usually standalone pieces that are outside of it. Does that make sense there? Question, Georgia? I saw you squint, so it's like an auction.
Well, I'm just thinking, this is great. Are you gonna come and police the first meeting to make sure that the first two, okay.
Yep. Because otherwise it doesn't work.
Well, because I could see falling into a misstep, then
Yeah.
becoming the pattern and but yeah, okay.
First two. And then what happens is after the first two, again, a year into it, 14 months into it, somebody will say, can you come back? We're slipping. Then we come back for a couple, we'll get you back on track type of thing. That can potentially happen. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I thought that was for another session like this. That's actually for our board meeting. My disconnect, I'm sorry.
No, that's right. That's great.
On the list above, on track, off track,
Yes.
let's say completed, on target. So let's say any one of them we complete in the
Yep.
first 30 days.
That's awesome. Then we just put done in there. We just put done and we don't come back to it. So again, instead of that on target putting an X in there, we just write the word done.
Okay, so these are 90 days, then you have to create a new 90-day goal because the next one's not for a year.
Yep, so great question. So again, remember, we're coming back in 90 days. We need to reset new 90-day goals. But if you do finish a 90-day goal in 30 days, don't just say, I got 60 days off. Okay? At that point in time, say, here's the next thing we're going to work on. And that could go down to the DBS. In the DBS, then Scott, you could say, I finished in 30 days, but I already got the next step. So I'm going to start working on this, and that's in the DBS. You share with the team, I'm still moving forward. Here's what I believe is we need to accomplish in the next 90 days, but I'm starting on it already. Did I answer your question?
Yep.
Okay.
And then that's up to the person who owned that responsibility to create the next goal.
Potentially, unless it's outside of your purview. So if that 90-day goal is very, very, there's always an exception to the rule. So I have individualization, there's always a gray area. So the gray area would be, you're very specific on this 90-day goal because you have the right, you got subject matter knowledge, you've got the right strengths, but the next 90-day goal doesn't really fit you. That's where you need to have some discussion to say, this is the direction I think we need to take, but this is not me. And then hopefully somebody else will say, well, that's me, I'll take that on. Type of thing. So, but you're the one that probably is gonna suggest where it should go.
You should have this discussion in the meeting.
In the DBS, yep. If you finish a goal in 30 days, then it's gonna go on the DBS and say, I need some help with where we're going next. Yep. Otherwise, if you're just tracking for roughly 90 days, let's say you finish it in 75 days, I would just say,
Then you get 15 days off.
yes, then you get 15 days off. You get a 2-week vacation. So. Did I answer your question, Skylar?
Yeah.
Great. Other questions at this point? Okay, so now we've got, so the to-do list, when you do have this populated, all it is in the next meeting is whoever's owning it, the point person, you're saying to Randy, is it done or not done? If it's done, then Ellen strikes through it, or however she colors it red to connotate that it's done. She leaves it there because it becomes part of your running minutes, okay? But in the next meeting, anything that's done here, she's wiped away because you don't need it for the next meeting, it's done. But anything that's not struck through or read, she leaves there. Does that make sense? All right, so then once you go through it's done or not done, and of course, guess what? If it's not done, where does it go?
On the DBS.
To discuss. How do we get it back on track? Correct. So then we go to the DBS. And the DBS is you ask the group, very quick hitting. Now, I would ask my strategic people. Strategic are really good at prioritizing. So I'd be tapping into Tom with strategic, I'd be tapping into Margaret with strategic. Those are my two strategic people. I'd start with them and say, all right, you're my strategic people with the strategic strength. It doesn't mean any of us are not strategic, but particularly with the strategic strength and the specificity of that, they're good at prioritizing. So I'd say to them, Margaret, Tom, what do you see as the top 3 items? What are the top 3? And then Margaret might say this one, Tom says this one. And so then you rate those and you say, all right, here's number 1, number 2, number 3. And you rank the top 3. And as long as you rank the top 3 and you talk through those top 3 as best you can to come up with a to-do, you're great. Even if there's 17 things up here. Now, Lori might be, do you run the meetings, Lori?
Do I what? Go
Do
to
you-
board meetings?
Go to the board meetings?
Yes.
Okay, so Lori may say, she may have something on the issue list, and she may say, look, I know it's not as high a priority for everyone in the room, but if I don't have this information, I can't do my job. So then we do make sure that we talk about that. So there may be someone that says, I just have to have it. It's probably usually a little quicker hitter, okay? But we do make sure we talk about that. So we have to be realistic with this too. Does that make sense? But otherwise, we're talking about the top priorities. And there may be something, so then what gets talked about, you either color code as, we talked about it and it's in the to-do list, or you strike through it, that we discussed this, we came up with a solution, it's in the to-do, whatever it would be. But you talk about those highest priorities. And you make sure that you go through it. This is where all the talking takes place. Notice, up to this point, how much talking?
Little.
Very little to none. This is now where we prioritize so that we're not going down those rabbit holes. So Emily's not telling us about Mabel in the plastic on her couch in her house with the, green shade carpet or whatever it would be. All right? And again, no offense, Emily, there you go. But this is where we prioritize, and then we have whatever discussion needs to take place. And this is where I know with open meeting law and things like that, depending upon how you govern anyone that shows up to your meeting, this is where you're going to have to manage that in light of whatever laws you have to abide by and how you incorporate that. But that's where any of those discussions would go also. So again, if there's issues that come from the floor, that you're allowed to come from the floor, etc., then you got to put them in here, prioritize, deal with accordingly, follow the laws. So if you have to talk about it, you have to talk about it. But again, the whole goal is that this is that 60-minute, 2/3 of your meeting right here.
So, just curious how you handle issues that come up from parents in the meetings, like the way we've done it, which is it's brought up and then usually Rainey addresses at the next board meeting because there's not an obligation. How do you guys, I'm just curious how you guys handle at your school.
I think that's great. We've never had a parent show up.
Ever?
No,
Lucky.
not in 6
Oh.
years.
Okay.
We're the opposite.
No. Well, and again, there is a differentiation.
Yeah, I
Our school
understand.
compared to your school. And again, this is not throwing anyone on the bus or saying anything negative, but we are an inner city urban school. And we get parents to things, but we ain't getting parents to school board meetings. And that, I'll be honest with you.
Not hurting your feelings?
Not a
Yeah.
bad, not a bad
It's okay.
thing.
It's okay.
We want our parents to come.
We want our parents to be involved, but we have prioritized other ways for them to be involved rather than that. It's open to them, but no one's ever taken advantage of it. And we have said to them, Scott, I should be on. We have said to them, well, come to the school board meeting. We have encouraged that. If you really want to say, come to the school board meeting, but no one ever shows up. But I like how you handle that, because if you can put it on the list and push it to the next meeting, I think that's a great way, because then you can prioritize that in light of everything else. It gives you time. I think that's a good practice. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question, Scott? Okay. Again, is that making sense here?
Yeah.
You understand the whole purpose of this is meetings get derailed so quickly, and then we're talking about things, and then you walk out of this saying, what do we do tonight? The beauty of this, and again, we just worked with another group, and I'm working in the Twin Cities with a large company on this. But they just rated, so they just had their third meeting, and so I helped them through the first two. So they just had their third meeting yesterday, because I was down here, I was not able to be a part of it, and that's good. But they went from initial ratings of 5 to now yesterday was on average an 8.5. And I'll tell you about the ratings in a little bit. 8.5 is good, 10 is the best. So again, they've gone in 3 weeks worth of meetings, because it's a weekly meeting. They've gone from a 5 to an 8.5, because, and the big reason why is they said we're actually doing something. People are actually on the to-do list, and they had gone 6 months with these. We just talk, no action. So this gets you to action.
One thing that this model assumes is that everyone's going to carry their own weight. I'm not saying that everyone won't, but how do you deal with that if?
Beautiful, that's great. So that's where, again, the to-do list, where you say, is it done or not done, that's your built-in accountability piece. And if you've got someone, so if someone says not done, but then they have a legit, and they say, I've got 5 messages on, no one's calling me back, I need an extra week with this, that's fine. That happens. But if someone's just not done, I didn't get to it, that's where good old Randy or somebody in leadership is going to have that very serious one-on-one talk and say, are you in the right seat? And that's that accountability piece. And again, laying that foundation, accountability is the highest form of praise, putting that in there. But you do have built-in accountability here, Skylar. So at least the good thing with this, Skylar, is you have built-in accountability, see who's doing their work or not doing their work, all right? And with it then, though, you all have to be accountable to address that if it's not happening. Go ahead.
So, thinking about this process a little more, and the dashboard part of the solution early, let's say Lori presents a few things we've got questions about.
Yep, it goes into DBS
Okay.
at that time. That's exactly what so if Lori presents it like we're 29 cents over in postage and Skylar wants to know where's that 29 cents, we put it on the DBS, and if it's prioritized and we have the time to get to it, then we talk about it there.
Oh, so who chooses priority?
The collective team. Now, I would assign, no. I don't
1, 2, 3.
No, with this, what I was saying before, I do like the 4, 3, 2, 1. What we do with this is, I would put it first on my strategic people to say, what do you see as priorities overall? Because they're very good at prioritizing. And then, Skylar, if you say something like, I really need to know this, I really need to have this, then the whole collective says, okay, we're gonna raise that up. We're gonna make sure we get to that. But it's a collective decision. It does begin to flow more when you get into it, because people come already knowing what they need to prioritize, knowing what they need to know. The first couple times it's a little clunky. I'm not gonna tell you different, but once you get into the rhythm, answer your question.
Yeah, it makes sense. Just trying to make sure.
Yeah.
Kind of understand it. So they won't see it for 31 days.
Yeah, that's exactly it. All right. Questions on the DBS? So once you go through the DBS and you've got solutions, You've got then the new, now whether Ellen wants to work with a new to-do list or she just populates the old one and just races, different groups do it different ways. But the new to-do list is what she would be populating down here based upon this for the next time. And then once you just review this, so this is the end of the meeting. So the end of the meeting, with 5 minutes left in the meeting, give or take, you might want 10 minutes left because you have to close with your obligatory statements and things like that. So whatever works. So it's 10 minutes maybe, but you're just basically, Ellen will have this up on the screen and just say, any questions on the to-do list? Okay, great, we're clear. Then fuel messages to the team.
I'll let you finish that and then I'll ask my question.
Okay. Fuel message to the team would be like today. It would be like writing in here bullet points saying, Randy's going to follow up with Tom to make sure he knows what he missed. George is going to follow up with Ellen to make sure she knows what she missed. That's what goes here. It's basically asking the question, did we make a decision in this meeting that is going to impact someone who was not here? So if it impacts your office administrator, that's one of the downfalls of places. You make a decision, then you come to the next meeting, well, where is it? And nobody told the office administrator we needed copies of this or that. So it's again that catch-all to say, is there someone that is not already in a to-do that we're already going to talk to that needs to know what we did here tonight? And then you assign who's going to tell them by when. Go ahead, Scott.
So as a board, there are things that we vote on, there's discussion, that would obviously go on the DBS, and then we vote, and then move on to the next list?
Yep,
Okay.
that's exactly right. Yep. And you would note it in there as you have to. If you have to have a special way that you note, vote and number of votes, or, I mean, you would put that in that solution area and have that connotated as such. Other questions? Randy, still tracking, making sense?
Yeah, I was,
Poor Randy.
you always seem to know what I'm thinking. I was thinking about that last, because I'm familiar with the iOS, and, it's very similar.
Yep, the EOS, the level 10 meeting, correct, yep.
Yep, sorry.
That's okay.
I guess I wasn't that familiar with it. When we rate the meetings, I remember we used to rate the meetings 1 through 10.
Yeah, we do.
And it just ended up being, it was like the way they did it is if it was below a 7, you had to give a reason.
Below an 8.
Okay, a 7 and below. And then everybody just would rate it about that. Because they didn't want to have to give an explanation.
So-
I just wondered how you kind of prevent
Yeah,
that.
so, all right, I'll go into that. So the next portion is we all rate the meeting. Rating the meeting is for self-improvement. I don't think you're gonna have that issue with this team, but I will tell you that my wife, who doesn't like to talk in front of adults, she's a former preschool director, loves talking to 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds, but not necessarily to adults. She would just always rate it an 8 or better, because if you rate it an 8 or better, you don't have to say why. Okay? You don't have to say why you rated it an 8 or better. Okay, so I know what you're talking about. So again, the point being in rating the meeting. So at this point, you just go around the room and say, rate the meeting on a scale of 1 to 10. If you rate it lower than an 8, so a 7 or lower, you have to give a reason why, so that we can improve and grow. So the leader just has to encourage it, to say, really want to know, really want to know. And I don't think you're going to have that problem with this group. This group is a pretty open, honest group, unless George is in a hurry. She might just say, everybody ready, because I gotta get going. But other than that, it's gonna be, I think you've got a good group here, but Randy, that's where I just push people. And that's where sometimes if I know, in my opinion, it wasn't an 8 or better, I'll start it. Just say, we started late. So I'll say, I rated it 6 today because we started late. We're missing 4 people. You know, that's not a 9 or a 10. And it has nothing to do with the meeting format. So remember, the rating, when you rate the meeting, it's not about you're rating the meeting format. You're rating how the meeting ran. And how can we improve that? That's where groups get mixed up to. How to run. So if you started late, finished late, 5 out of 7 people were missing, people weren't prepared, that's where you gotta say, rated a 5 today because of X, Y, and Z. Just call it out. What was that? Yeah, but no. And again, we'll help you in the first 2 to set that.
That's not me.
We'll help you set up in the first 2. So, all right, does that make sense on rating the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, and it's always with the goal of self-improvement. How can we go better? Now, legitimately, what does happen is you get to the stage where it's just you're running an effective, efficient meeting, and everybody's walking away with to-dos, and it's action-oriented, and now instead of 90 minutes or instead of 60 minutes, you're finishing in 47 minutes, and that's what I'm gonna see. My partner's here, I say, that's what I guarantee will happen, so, they don't like the word guarantee. But that, you're gonna see that happen more than not.
Well, and I think that, to Scott's point earlier, your first one and your second one, you will be in the 6s and 7s. It's highly unlikely that you're gonna be 9s and 10s all the way around, because it's gonna be clunky. You're gonna have questions that, well, why does it go this way? And if we put it here, how does it correlate to the next piece on here? So it'll work its way out as it goes along, and so just be aware. First one and second one will be a little clunky.
Go ahead, Margaret.
This might be a conversation that I need to have with Randy, but what does this style, what is the ramification on my reporting?
You don't have to go through your thing anymore.
Is that really what you're saying?
So this is what I would say. I'm gonna speak out of turn. So I'm gonna 100% speak out of turn here. Is our director in our charter school? I don't want to hear her talk. She sends us her report. If we have questions, so she sends it ahead of time. If we have questions, we either bring them up to put on the DBS at that meeting, or again, you can set up a system. So Randy can set up a system where you're contacting Ellen to say ahead of time. Where you have, but I don't think you can do that legally. I don't know how the laws work. You know, so you could, if you have a system where you get at it, I don't know if you have to do it in front of everyone. We have to build this in. That's something for you to talk about. But this is me speaking out of turn. It works that way for everybody that's there. Is we just want, that's it. She adds to our dashboard. So from her, what she really fills in our meeting, our director Michelle, she puts in student enrollment and a couple other figures that help drive our decision making. Other than that, she gives us her 3-page report. And if we don't put anything on the DBS, we don't discuss it. That's it. But I stole your thunder, so you two can talk more about how you really want to work that. But I'm just telling you that's how it should work.
So like on the to-do list, I'm just gonna use something that's been a real challenge here. But like engagement in the high school, right? That was one of our items on the list. How does that get on there?
Yep, so somebody would say, I have a DBS item, engagement in high school. So it goes on DBS.
Okay.
So then if it was your issue and it's prioritized and you're talking about it, and you're saying, I've got a real issue with, whatever that means, etc., and the team talks about this, and out of that would be saying, all right, well, I've got this new program that I'd like us to review. So on the to-do list, the to-do would be, Skylar's going to send out to everyone the link to this new program that he believes could increase engagement in the high school, and everyone's going to review this to come back for discussion in the next meeting.
And then that goes on the DBS for next.
Yep.
Stays on the DBS for next week or other action steps.
Yep, so the item, the to-do is going to be everyone has looked at this, and then more than likely we'll go on the DBS for discussion of next steps, potential next steps.
Or if we're like Margaret, we need to do something, then that would be an action item.
Yeah, be correct. Like if Lori has to give you some kind of specialized numbers for something that came up or something like that, it would become a to-do that Lori's going to get these numbers to Randy by this date. And it doesn't have to be the next meeting. It could be something that Randy's working on in between, but is an actual to-do that Randy needs that information, and it becomes a to-do for Lori, or it becomes a to-do for whomever, because it's a piece of information that you need because a parent brought something up or a community member. Those are the to-dos. The to-dos are kind of those outside of the big 90-day goals that it just something came up. We had to, heaven forbid, you had a fight in the school or whatever, or we've got to, get a lawyer or X, Y, Z. Those are usually the to-dos that are on there.
Well, so if we do have an issue though, we need to, if it's significant enough, need to notice it, so we need to get it on there in advance. We can't just bring it up at the meeting and discuss it.
So if there's a rule and regulation with that, get it on there in advance. That actually works better if you do have it on there in advance.
What was the example that would be required to be noticed? Retroactive.
I think that's up for discussion.
Just thinking
It's
like
not on the
your,
agenda, right?
yeah, just thinking like your example about the minutes or, or whatever you can talk about. If you wanted to raise that as a topic, we just need to put it on the agenda. And notice at least 24 hours in advance. Which just works fine, because we can you just like send an issue to me, I can just get it on the agenda. Just saying, if we brought it up at the meeting, we may not be able to talk about it until the next meeting.
We could talk about it, but we couldn't do anything about it.
And you're not supposed to talk about it either. You're supposed to give 24 hours notice on any topic.
So,
Because if the community or parents wanted to engage, so the law requires 24 hours.
so Margaret talks about something in her principal's report today, the way it works.
She won't be talking.
She talks about
We're waiting for.
No, I know, but somehow she talks
Just
about a
something.
dashboard item. It's on her dashboard. Today, the way it works, we discuss like, oh, I have a question about things you're no, you talked about your report, for example. We discuss it at that meeting.
But that's always sent out 24 hours in advance.
The agenda is attached. That was one of the actually comments we had from a community member.
I know they come earlier.
Yeah, so we have to have, like, Margaret's report is attached with the topics on there.
Yeah.
So they're asking things that are in the report already.
Okay, got it.
Yep, that's an awesome question, I love it. So how I would hear that again, that means like anything in your 90-day goals is already on the agenda. So that means it's open, it can be discussed. So again, if there's something outside of the agenda though, that's where you need to contact Randy or Ellen and say, get this on here 24 hours in advance, put it on the DBS.
So Randy, just procedurally, how do you see how we're going to do that? Not quite yet. I mean, I'm not sure that I do either.
Yeah, I think the other thing, I have to talk to Ellen too, just to kind of tie in what we need to do and what's in our bylaws with this and what we need to notice and what we can't talk about. But, so we may need to manipulate it a little bit. And like with Margaret's report, I'm thinking instead of her having a report with 6 sections, you know, they're separate. To do whatever's on our list and talk about it that way. Is that what you're thinking about this?
She was so excited that she would never have to do
She
a principal's
submits the
report
report
again.
and then we review it, and if we have questions, we ask her, but she doesn't have to read the whole thing.
Yeah, that's 100% how I push it. As awkward as that feels and as maybe as, that is 100, that's what you want. You don't want anybody, you know, again, reading the report. I'm just going to discourage that. And I don't think that's what was being said there necessarily, but it's not.
I'm not married to the idea of her reading the report like we do today, not that she reads it exactly, but I know there's a process to do like people highlights, which would, those, some of those would come up in the report. But is there, I mean, I like to know, she sends a report, I'd like to know whether the top 3 or 4, you know, things that,
Those should be the dashboard items, maybe.
well, they might change, right? Like, I mean, they will, the dashboard I know will change, but, you know, on a monthly basis, like,
It'll be hot topics.
yeah, what are the 3 things that maybe aren't on the dashboard? They're like, these are the 3 most important things from my report this week, something like that.
So then if you do have that, our encouragement would be, she puts in the DBS, hot 3 topics for the school, and in the DBS, she'll raise those things. I mean, if that's what you want, but I would try to minimize that, so again.
I don't want the whole thing, but like, it'd be good to hear, I think, from our executive, what are the 3 things this month that, and maybe they'll all be on the dashboard, I don't know, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, it may be on the dashboard, but if it's outside the dashboard, Margaret, if you really got something really cool you want to share.
Well, I feel like there's room here for fine tuning the board calendar to monthly hot topics, if that's the title we're going with, monthly hot topics.
The biggest room is the room for
If the
improvement.
dashboard becomes the numbers that, you know, you as a board want to see on a monthly basis, then my board report that I submit in advance becomes the quote-unquote hot topics. Like when the standardized test results come in, those will be in there. So everything in my report then becomes the biggest news of the month. And the dashboard data becomes the monthly statistics that you all want to hear on that recurring basis. And so then I don't need to point out what the important things are, because everything in my report would be considered hot for the month. Is that fair? It'll take some tweaking probably on the board calendar.
I don't know that everything in your report is hot for the month.
No, I think there are some things that I could take out and remove, but because it seems a little superfluous, is that the right word?
We kind of talk about everything. Anyway, it's the way it is.
Yeah.
So we can-
Yeah.
the idea.
Yeah, it's get into the flow. You're not gonna necessarily have 100% of it, all in alignment today, but have those discussions. Really, we gotta get into this flow. This is gonna make everybody's life easier. It's gonna have everybody walk out of here saying, wow, we know what we're doing. And that's no offense to anything up to this point. It's just in general, that's just the way it goes.
Well, I'm offended.
Well, I don't care. No, listen, I would care. If you truly were offended, I would care. All right. Other questions or thoughts? You rate the meeting, conclude, you're done.
Every time.
Yep, every time. Every time. Making sense, team? Questions or thoughts here? And again, Randy, too, prior to the next meeting, Dan will be in contact with you, or with you and Ellen. Make sure that it's all gelled, we're there, we're gonna walk with you. We are there with you for meeting 1, meeting 2. So we wanna take some pressure off of you that if anyone's gonna walk out of that meeting being criticized, it could be us, that's fine. And we're just gonna keep saying, gotta live the process, gotta live the process. In groups that stay the process, say, we never wanna go to another meeting style, ever again.
Dan, if you're taking notes right now, our July meeting is on the 16th of July, and then the typical school calendar, we do not meet in August, it being like the startup month of school. Administratively, we're either flying by the seat of our pants to get the last few things done, or someday, maybe we're taking a few days off after a long summer of behind the scenes work. So we do not meet in August. So then our second meeting with you all would be our September meeting. And we always meet on the 3rd Wednesday of the month. So in September, that happens to be the 17th.
Unless it's a full moon, then it's a second.
Right.
And it's July 16th?
July 16th is, yes, correct. No August meeting, and then September 17th. Don't laugh at the idea of taking a few days. Well, that's my goal.
I love the goal.
Other questions on the meeting?
Does everyone kind of give you pushback and friction at first?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and every, this is almost to a T. Every group that we work with the first time, there's usually 1 or 2 people in the meeting that will say, I rated it a 9 because we actually did something, in comparison, and then the rest are like, well, 6, I still don't quite understand it, I'm not sure how this works, it feels clunky. We almost always hear the word, feels clunky. But by like the 3rd meeting, I got the text message yesterday from the person who led it saying, everyone rated 8.5 and you weren't even here. I'm like, well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that, so. Or the average.
Correlation. Maybe it was a correlation.
I was, they very well could have been. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't hold you back in this one, so. And it didn't mean everyone rated 8.5, but it got an average of 8.5 for the 10 people in the meeting. So, he was super excited. Young leader, dynamic, learn, so. We good there, team? All right, so now we can do 1 of 2 things. We can either take a little stretch break and finish up 30 minutes, or we can just push through the next 30 minutes and close up and probably be done.
Let's push.
I got to bounce at 2:30, but.
All right, so we'll push. Here we go. We'll make sure we get your input. Everybody else good with pushing? Okay, the last resource that we want to show you, this is a more in-depth resource. And this is something we'll discuss further as possible trainings on the road. But that's on page 142 in the book, 143. This is an incredibly great, awesome, amazing tool that I wrote, and that's why I'm saying it's so great. But no, that's not why it is. But it's a terrific, objective way for you to deal with energy management. So again, you as a board, you've done Clifton's strengths. You want to keep it living, take it to the next level. So when you talk about energy management, you've got some things here. We're not going to read through this, but you can look at it. You want to define, Randy's 100% is not Emily's 100%, is not John's 100%, is not Dan's 100%. we tend to judge people on how we operate best. Yeah, and if you want to work 100 hours a week, Margaret, that's awesome, but if you're going to require that of everyone, that's just not going to work. It's just not how people function. If that's your 100%, other people. So again, it's defining that. There's some steps here, and then what we really get into, and this is the power of this resource. So if you want to go to the 4-quadrant piece, Dan, on the 3rd page of that. Yeah, one more page. Perfect. What eventually we would encourage you to do as a board, and then Margaret, we're always encouraging this to be done with faculty, staff, etc. But you've got your strengths, and in this matrix, basically what you've got is you've got your top 8 strengths. So that what you're doing fits your top 8 strengths, and you have high experience on that side. So again, what you want to do is find the things that you're doing that fit your strengths and fit your experience. So when we're working with teams, it's basically Randy would write down the 20 things he does for the board. Skylar writes down the things he does for the board. Georgia, Margaret, etc. Then you basically put them into these quadrants in your mind and say, well, this one definitely fits my strengths, fits my experience. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Because that's less energy, greater results. Okay? Then there's going to be things that maybe you're on the board that you're new to the board. Again, you and John and Ellen are the 3 new ones, right? Mm-hmm. So you're new to the board. So it may fit your strengths, but I got to learn more. So you're partnering with others to learn more. You're maybe taking a course. You're going to a conference, whatever. But you're learning more to move it up into that category. And then there may be things that you're doing that you have a lot of experience with, but don't fit your strengths. So my example for me is I have a ton of experience with budgets. I've done budgets for schools, for companies, for XYZ, blah, blah, blah. I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of budgets. I have a lot of experience, but it does not fit my strengths. Okay? Because I'm terrible with Excel spreadsheets. I do them like in a Word table, or I write them up by hand. And I'm good at math, but I don't care if it's exact. I don't really care about those things. That's more generalities for me. So I'm really good at telling the story behind a budget. But when it comes to like crunching the numbers and putting it into formulas and all that, I'm way better at messing that all up than doing that. So I want to partner up. I'll tell the story, how it fits our mission, how it fits our vision, how these funds are going to be utilized. But I need someone else to partner up with to do the nuts and bolts, budgeting, forecasting, all of that.
And is there like a Granimals shortcut that shows what strengths work with, or do we just do it for what the formulas are? Like the
Yes, there are some documents that I can send to you that will help you with that a little bit, but basically it's just thinking through when you just start thinking through what I'm doing and how does that suck my energy out or does it give me energy?
How can you identify who to partner up with?
Okay, yes, we
So
have a sheet. Yes, we have a document called Partner Up, Key Partner Up Opportunities. That does exactly that. So we'll send you that document.
Did I trick you?
We did a little bit.
Yes.
But we do. We have a Key Partner Up document. Which, no, it's not in there. We have not shared that with you yet, so you do not have that. That's another step in the process of giving that to you. So we can send that out to you, Georgia, when we send out the materials. Because what it does is it gives every strength. If you have strategic, here's your key partner up strengths. If you have achiever, here are your key partner up strengths. If you have a ranger, here's your key partner up strengths. So that's exactly what we have. Does that answer your question? Cool. All right, so that's a partner up. And then the bottom left are things that you're doing that don't fit your strengths and you don't really have a lot of experience with. That's what you want to get rid of. And it's not just dumping it, but usually when you do this, so what we do is you'll write this out. So Randy does this, everybody does this. Randy's got 5 things up here, 2 things down here, 1 thing here, 2 things here. And usually when you bring that to that meeting, so you bring it to the meeting, everybody shares. So John's got something down here. Lori says, John, I didn't know you didn't like to do that. I love doing that. That'd take me 5 minutes. I'd be glad to do that. And then Randy has something down here. John's like, whoa, that's right in my, that's my area. I love it. And this is where you begin to shift things. So position descriptions, roles and responsibilities as such should not be written in stone. You should have that ability to, again, it goes back to the AEF, the fit. That's where we begin to negotiate that out. Trade some things, move some things. It's not just dumping, but it gives us a very objective way to talk about what are we doing and how can we better manage our energy. Now, there's certain steps with it, but I want to give you a big picture to get you to start thinking this way. George, are we going to say something?
No.
Does this conceptually make sense to everyone? Because too often what happens is, you got your position description, you come to work, you hate your job, you go home, and it just continues and you look for another job. This gives you an objective way to, again, discuss, well, how can we work better together? Because like John, you said, talent development, keeping your people, is 70% of your operational success. Good on this one, team? All right, and again, this is part of that future training too, but you can start to think about this. To keep it in mind, how can we better even now start doing some of this? All right, we good with that, team? That's what we got for you. Any questions, comments, and thoughts on any of those resources before? What we're going to do is we're going to do one last roundtable where everyone's going to share, again, were your expectations met over the last 2 days? Remember what we shared yesterday? Key expectations, were your expectations met? And any other key thoughts, ideas, takeaways from yesterday and today? George, I will not make you start today.
I can start.
All right, Margaret, you start.
I really appreciated yesterday. I am excited to have some very clearly defined action items that we can all take action on. And I especially appreciated John's passion for defining our vision and just his excitement for all the potential and possibility that exists for LCCA. I will readily admit that I am excited about the potential for a restructured board meeting for more efficiency, more effectiveness. That's exciting to me. And I am just especially grateful for the candor and the openness, the questions, the contributions of the whole group. I'm very grateful for Partner to Learn. I think you've stepped in at a time when we were primed and ready for leadership to help us with this work, and it's a great time in our institutional history and momentum to really equip us each and collectively as a whole with the tasks that need to be done to have us level up. It's one of the things that the Hillsdale report that you all saw from the teacher support team kept talking about. We're exceptional for a Year 4 school, but now it's time to level up, and I think we've just done that, and I'm really, really enthused by the work we've done. So thank you to the two of you and the other members of your team. I think it's been a great positive impact on LCCA.
Popcorn method, you get the picture.
Oh, great. Emily.
I'm excited as well. I left yesterday feeling like it might have been a little lofty, the goals that we set, but coming back today and assigning owners and kind of talking through what a board meeting might look like and being more efficient and focused, I think feeling like it's more achievable. So I'm encouraged.
Excellent.
John.
I think I said yesterday, this is a very functional group, and the interests are all there. And so I think doing any of this stuff, you actually get people to focus on this, getting towards thinking about what are the steps, like, think big, okay, all right, let's then go get it going. That's always productive. Not productive when the group isn't functional in there. But this is a functional group, so I think this is going to be exciting to get it going.
All right, John, who's next?
Scott.
I think this is tremendously helpful for the school. We are I've been involved for a little over a year and a half. And the challenge that we face is making that transition from functioning operational board to a governance board is kind of where we're at, right? I think we'll almost make that turn. I think my biggest concern not necessarily the process, but kind of like you said, it's very like high level. I think this will help drive a lot of things that we need to get done. It's been so focused on the leadership. But my biggest concern is, other things that slip through the cracks, right? So when we talked about a lot of things that are super important to getting us on campus, things that I think as a board we think are important, I just get a little nervous about some of the underlying things, and maybe I shouldn't, but because we've been in the weeds so much to some extent, that's where I'm at. So I don't mean to be pessimistic about it, but that's my biggest, concern. But I don't know that I should be concerned with that.
No, it's awesome, and that's a legitimate concern, and where I'm hopeful where this will play out for you, Scott, is when we get to that 90-day meeting, we go through those 90-day goals, and again, the rule of thumb is 80 to 90% are done. There's always going to be something that has something come up, but the real fun part is coming back with the group and they actually hit 80%. And the team actually says things like, if we hadn't written that down, we've never done that. So I'm hopeful that we can squelch it, but it's a good piece to help keep holding the team accountable. Saying we committed to this, so that's great. All right, who's next, Scott?
Lori.
I thought this whole process was very positive, and it was nice to see, how everybody kind of gelled, and we learned about each other, and how figuring out the best ways to service the students and the parents, the community, and kind of our, the individual roles and how it all rolls up into the whole organization. And I think this process will help to move the board from being an operating board to a governance board. And with that, I think just the items that we have to work on, and like the tasks in the 90 days that all feed into the 1 year and the 3 year. So kind of the questions that we have today, I think will get just kind of organically get answered, and the vision will become more clear as to who we are, what we're doing, and why. And then having the action items and seeing that there is accountability for everybody involved at whatever your input is or your role in the organization. That's going to ultimately bring trust amongst everybody. And I think that will be a really strong and positive reflection that parents are going to see and understand. And I just think that the relationships will come across more in a positive environment. And then we can move away from being this startup, the startup school, where we were 4 years ago, and still carrying out the founders, the mission, their vision, and the values. So I think over time we'll evolve, and I think positive things will happen for the school.
Excellent. Thanks, Lori.
I thought it was a really good session, and I'm glad we did it. I thought we had some really good things come out of it. I'm really excited about it for the administration, because I don't know how they run their meetings internally, but I've seen it transform an organization, the U.S.
Yeah.
But
Enough comment hours there, but I'm not offended by that. Yeah.
from really just wasted time, just as you described, to getting things done at meetings. So I'm really excited if they can implement some of this. I think they'll really like it, find it transformational. I will say I'm a little more skeptical on the board side, not that it can work. I guess more overwhelmed, I should say, because of all the things we need to do and all the legal implications and the fact that we all have jobs and some of us have kids and there's only so many hours in the day you can spend. And I understand it's an investment to save debt in the future. So maybe it's just kind of overwhelmed thinking about how to get through all these things in this transition phase to the point where it's more efficient in the future. But we definitely need to improve the way we run our board meetings. We do it much more efficiently. So I guess it's more overwhelmed by the investment of time to get there as well. So.
Yeah, and again, that's what tap into us. We're there with you the first 2 board meetings that way. And the other piece is just tap them, and like you said, the upfront investment, and we try to keep it as minimal as possible. So again, that's why we didn't send you like 10 hours of pre-work and things like that. I try to keep it as minimal as possible because we just know the realities. That's where, let us walk with you through and so that we can help lift from that burden and you got what one for the world too. So, absolutely. All right, whoever's next. Eric's left and George is left.
Are you saying? Okay. Echoing what I said yesterday a little bit, I really appreciate the intentionality of the structure. I think I believe strongly that that's what groups like this need, and by group I mean not just the board, but the whole school needs to take it to the next level. Margaret was talking about those things don't happen accidentally. They happen purposefully, and very enthusiastic about the intentionality and purposefulness behind achieving what we want to achieve. And I also believe strongly that teams learn how to be a team by doing things together. In other words, you can't learn this stuff by reading a book and then coming back together and just, right? You have to do the teamwork to learn to be the team. And that's very energizing to me to be part of the team. So I'm really looking forward to utilizing, being a part of this structure and framework and facilitating from whatever I can possibly provide and contribute. Just really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's honestly, your learner strength being number one, Margaret, I could see, again, Eric being a real strong driver of this in other levels. Because he learns, he's got, you have 4 degrees in education and everything else. So there's another thing you can learn and implement. So. All right, Eric, you get to pick the last
George
person.
last.
There you go.
Last but not least.
It's like dodgeball. I think that Ellen probably too, but being the only person in this room right now who doesn't know anyone else in this room, this has been an interesting experience. Typically, a positive one. Typically, strategic planning, like in my executive career, causes me to break out in hives. So this definitely exceeded expectations because it was not that awful. Not that it wasn't awful, but it wasn't that awful. But having a chance to get to meet everybody and finally have a name and a face and a role and just kind of getting to know some personalities has been, I think, what you just said, Eric, it's invaluable to kind of be able to practice and work as a team together. And that's going to dictate how the future is going to work. And I'm excited about the future. As Margaret said, this is a turning point where we're through the inaugural phase, and the first class just graduated, so we're no longer new. Now we're like same old, and the same old is going to be like here to kick ass and take names. I think that's cool. I think we're going to do it, and I think it's glad to be a part of it. I kind of shared your healthy skepticism about how it's going to work, and it's an adjustment for us, and we just sat through 2 days of this. Parents are going to also have to have an adjustment, but I think I'm already kind of thinking of some ways that we can get the legal requirements packed in to template, for lack of a better word, or, I mean, we'll figure.
And again, it's your meeting agenda, so whatever, again, whatever you have
Figure it out.
to do now. This is that key partner up document, I know you gotta go, Scott, you got it. So you just have to look at it, it should be fairly self-explanatory, but here's something. Skylar, nice to meet you, and I'll connect you with the others, so.
Good riddance.
And again, George, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but.
Yeah, you did.
Alright.
I mean, whatever.
Keep going.
I think I was close to done.
You are.
I am done, stick with work.
All right, no, it's great.
This is good, and we're on the cusp of good things, great things. Oh my God, after listening to your speech, I stand at the ready. Yeah.
And I think she just gave you a couple of values that you need to consider adding is, kick ass and take things, so those are a couple of values to add, so.
But that's, I'm sorry, I'm just throwing out a question, but like the practical realities to address, because how are we going to functionally do this? From the standpoint, like, there is the open meeting stuff, there's and again, some of this is just like, I'm just not used to functioning.
Bureaucracy.
I just, like, it drives me crazy, like, I don't know how to function, I just kind of like, usually, you throw it aside and you just get things done, there's that, and there's just a balance of, we've worked on this whole, board as governance and administration, which is great, and all this, but some of these things, like we're talking about doing, these are like actual to-do things, like, how do you, I still not really, I'm clear as to the boundaries of what we're not necessarily supposed to do, email is being coordinated that way and what have you, but things like, capital campaigns, things like, I have one, and but it makes sense to preview with it and talk with it, and that's like a working thing. Yesterday I took the portrait of a student thing, and I reworked one, worked with the capital campaign. Yeah, that thing, yeah. But those are things that but operationally, like Mark's hired a head of advancement person, so that hopefully needs to get looped in, but that's part of the administration, that's not part of the whole, so practically, how are we supposed to function when it comes to some of this stuff?
I know why I'm overwhelmed.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just,
I think we need to.
No pressure, Randy.
my, bias to action is sort of okay, we want to go, we need to go raise money, okay, I know how to do that, let's go and, these are the things, all right, let's go do that. We can't really do that way, kind of, I don't think.
I guess I feel like maybe we need to just sort of get into it and sort of figure it out
Right.
as we go. Maybe for us, I know the theoretical framework is good, but we can always tweak it a little bit, I think. I don't want to deviate too far, but to try and make it work for how we operate, or we operate.
And you will, I will tell you that you will. So let the first meeting happen with us, the second meeting's gonna be even better. And by the third meeting, you really will be getting into a rhythm with this. And you'll notice what you have to tweak. You'll notice that there may be certain, in Minnesota, what we had to do with this meeting format is there were certain ways that we have to write something that was voted on. So we had to make sure we could use that format, but we had to make sure the verbiage in that box matched what they wanted. But we can still use that format. And we can still use the format of being an open meeting, going out there and all that. And we found, again, what we found is that this meeting format was better because we actually have less notes and less information in your operational environment is great until you're forced to give more. So you would not want to, my discouragement, John, you would be, putting out a 500-page, capital campaign plan, on your website. It would be start with what you have to give, and then if you do have to give the 500-page report someday, then you do it that. So there's going to be ways that you can manipulate this, build this, and we'll do all of it. Yeah, I didn't cut you off. I'm so sorry.
Whatever it was, it's not, sorry about that, I lost it.
Other comments or thoughts?
Is the first meeting tomorrow?
Not with us.
Oh, well, I won't be here. So
Yeah. So no, that's a little bit too rapid fire for us. So the first meeting with us is going to be the one in July.
Just checking.
So tomorrow, go into what you do, and realize the next ones are going to be better. And there's no offense to anyone. No offense. It's just they're going to be better. Dan, closing comments?
Yeah, just that, Randy, we can talk more about the meeting. You want to have your preamble and your post-amble and whatever amble that you need to be included in there, so it's easy and referenceable. It's right there.
They're Randy ambles, we can call them rambles. It's no fun if you don't laugh.
I know. So I think what everybody was going into it too, and John, what you were going to say was, who do we want to be when we grow? And to go and have some of these other conversations going at the same time concurrently, to go figure out what the vision statement is, you're going to go and create that alignment so that when you go and have the capital campaigns, those conversations, you all are speaking the same way. That if a donor talks to one person and another, it's not going to be, yeah, this is our position, and you're off key just a little bit, where then it throws them off them, are they really aligned? So you're going to go and have that common way to go and communicate. This is why we're doing what we're doing, this is the outcome that we're looking for, and this is why we can go and raise those funds, and that's why we need your donation. So I think that's going to really come together, and then you go and work with CLA. I think that's going to be a great opportunity to go and play around with the numbers a little bit, but it'll also, it's a little bit of the chicken or the egg. It guides you, but you also need the vision to figure out what you want the numbers to be. So I think these things are going to go and come together, and as Scott said, I'm happy to go and jump on a call or jump on other things and talk to CLA or whoever, just to be a part of it as well. So yeah, really excited, really happy with what you guys were able to accomplish, so congrats, and yeah, that's it.
So good.
Margaret, do you feel, just, I'm curious, do you kind of feel now, as a lot of changes are happening, like the dust was kicked, it's hair's on fire, chicken with your head cut off, running a startup, a couple hiccups, some, angry mob mentality, lots of change, new board, now shifting directions, have your graduating class, now moving from operations to governance. Do you kind of feel like maybe this is the first time where you're not drinking out of a fire hose? Like that fight or flight, which I imagine that you've been in a constant state of for 4 years.
There's definitely, this summer especially already, like how many weeks it's been, 3 maybe. Absolutely has a different tone from the previous, just a little bit more. We accomplished a lot more before we hit the end of the school year to set ourselves up for a smoother summer. A lot of these things we're talking about, I'm excited to touch base with those of you that are owning some of the 90-day things, because we've started the ball rolling in a lot of different avenues.
Right.
And so to get everybody rolling with it will be great, and that's exciting. But yeah, we're in a really good position, and like I said, this has only set us up to increase our momentum.
Yep.
And I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to serve. We never take it lightly. You've given up, big chunks of your life, so we just appreciate that. Hope this is meaningful. We stand ready to walk with you. Don't hesitate to tap into us. We have a wealth of experience and everything's background, and I do have a direct connection with my education background too, so I have a deeper understanding on a more micro level too. But again, this really allowed you all to be more on the business than in the business. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think is going to be very exciting for you, Margaret, with your strategic strength and other things. So this gives you an avenue now to maybe take that next step in your progression of leadership development and the team's leadership development to be more than on than that in. Mm-hmm. And we're excited for the future. So thanks for the opportunity. Look forward to it. Handing out that document with key partner op doc. You can just, it's a good reference. It's just going to give you your strength, the brief definition, and what are the key strengths that you want to partner up with. Some of those you have already. You can think about how to do that. But again, we go deeper with that down the road, so it's another training down the road, but it does give you a snapshot. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon.
Everyone else good during the meeting, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks.
I feel like you deserve a standing ovation, but if you could just pause that first, we'll stand up for this.
Thanks, Georgia. All right.
Anybody like to move to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all opposed, or all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Meeting adjourned at 1:39.